Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Rundown, where we talk about 2A news and conservative views. I will be your host today, Craig DeLuz, coming at you from the West Coast, the left coast, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras. But as we all know, I do not do this program by myself.
That's right. My name is Mike Piwowarski, coming to you live from the East Coast. That's the coast with the most from the co-host with the most here on The Rundown. 2A views, conservative news, and Craig, how's your Throat Punch Thursday going so far?
You know what? Throat Punch Thursday. I will tell you, I have been all over the Twitters or the X's today, punching left-wing liberals in the proverbial throat. I just have to tell you, there's just so many I don't know how to put it, whacked out things that are taking place. I don't even begin. I can't even begin to get into it. But yeah, I've been punching liberals in the throat all day.
Good for you, sir. Good for you. That's the way to do it. That's how we take back the language, right? They can change or create assault weapon and mass weapons of mass war destruction, whatever they want. But throat punch Thursday means you get punched in the throat on Thursday if you do something stupid. That's all there is.
I'll give you an example. There's another story out about these right-wing conservatives, and they're trying to ban books from the library. And I'm like, is there a reason why the Associated Press or any media outlet will not show the images or the excerpts from the books that they're saying, and by the way, that they're not banning, they're saying should not be available in public school libraries? So you can still go to a public library. You can still go buy the book if you want to buy the book. But I'm like, well, because, and you and I know why they won't, because it's pornography, and they know that they can't air pornography, or their newspapers won't print pornography.
Correct. Yeah, they would end up in jail or fined or all of the above. So they can't. They just leave that part out. They're going to forget about that part of it, Craig. We want to put pornography in there, and anybody's free to go see it. We're just not going to show it to you because it's pornography.
Right. Well, what gets me about it, man, like I said, is if you can't put it in the newspaper, if you can't show the imagery in the newspaper, if we can't show it to you here on the show because it'll wind up getting our another YouTube channel banned, then why should it be made available in a public school library? Public school, especially in a middle school public school library.
Right, because then, guess what? They lose, right? What do you mean?
Right.
When you were talking pornography in schools, you were really talking about pornography in schools? Oh, we thought you were just, talking about Make America Great Again.
That's no. You used the word homosexual in a book. Mm-hmm. No, it's a little more than that. It's a little more than having a book that, shows, Bob having two dads. No, it's stuff like teaching kids to get on Tinder in order to find an adult to be their sexual tour guide.
You mean Bob having two dads, or a trans dad, or mixed race couple dad, or you mean every commercial out there is what you're talking about?
Pretty much, yeah. Anyway, it bugs me. It's just, I won't even get into it. But the funny part is, even here in California, it's funny when I talk to liberals, when I talk to Democrats, like not in public, they're like, yeah, man, I don't get down with that. Then I'm like, well, then why are you not saying anything? Why is it when that stuff is stuff is before the school board, why aren't you there protesting? Why aren't you there saying something? When they're talking about it in the newspaper, why aren't you commenting saying, yeah, I've seen this content, it's porn? Because if you go look at the list and the list of the books, every single one of them, sexual explicit content. Some of them, or most of them, are LGBTQ, which I'm wondering, why do we need to show same-sex people having sex, but we don't give the same, we don't show heterosexual couples having sex in school books?
Because that would not meet with the grooming standards, right? Because they want you to learn Yeah, as they teach your kids to be trans, they need to teach you how to have trans sex. So, that's what they need to have in the manual for you.
What I'll tell you, it's funny, and I sent out a tweet today. I said, so you want to force our 5-year-olds to have conversations about sex and sexuality. You want porn in public school libraries. These are Democrats. Democrats want to force 5-year-olds to have conversations about sex and sexuality. They want to have pornography, mainly same-sex pornography, in our public school libraries. They want the ability to be able to chemically and physically alter the sex organs of our children permanently. And oh, by the way, parents have no say, and by the way, shouldn't even be told about it. But my original comment was, but Democrats aren't groomers. I changed it to, but they're not coming after your kids, which is kind of saying the same thing without calling them groomers.
Yeah, it's just pure coincidence. That's all.
Just pure coinky dinky.
That's it.
Anyway, Patrick Collins says hello. He says, good evening, gents, from 34,000 feet. From 34,000 feet on his way to Milwaukee.
It's actually Milwaukee.
Milwaukee. There you go.
Milwaukee.
Hey, dude, man, they ain't got no good cops out there. They ain't got no cops out there, man. So I hope you're prepared.
Milwaukee. You know what they do have in Milwaukee, don't you?
Cheese?
The Fonz. Hey.
The Fonz.
hey.
All right, Mikey. Well, hey, let's do this. Let's go ahead and get into today's stories. But before we do, let's give a quick shout out to our sponsors.
Let's do it. Just left our friends over at Hitman Industries. That's hitmanindustries.net, hitmanindustries.net. If you got yourself an AR in the past 5 years, probably got one of their barrels and don't even know it. Well, now you can buy direct from the manufacturer. Get your next barrel for your next AR build or rebarrel your current AR platform. That's hitmanindustries.net. California Republican Assembly fighting the good fight behind enemy lines. Now you can take part in California's future today. Make sure to keep an eye on the California 6th congressional race as well. If you want the best in tactical concealed holsters on the market, combat holsters, undershirt carry, tactical carry, go check out our friends at hogholsters.com. That's HAWG holsters.com. Use the discount code The Rundown. It's all one word, no spaces, all caps. Get yourself a nice little discount. And if you're going out to the field, you're going hunting, you're going on the woods, you're going hiking, camping, whatever it is, you can get everything but the gun on uscombatgear.com.
Hey, Mike, I just wanted to check in. Correct me if I'm wrong, but one of the things I make sure to let folks know is with Hog Holsters, whatever setup you have, whatever optical you might have, whatever light you may have, they pretty much can create a setup just for you, just so you make sure you have a custom fit holster, can't they?
Yeah, John's got like something over, last time I recall, like 200 patterns of firearms available that he has. And if he doesn't have your particular firearm, you got some weird one-off, he'll still do everything he can to try and get you into that, whether that's finding another pattern or maybe even you meet up with them at some point, find somebody else with a like kind of gun so he can get you in the exact pattern you need.
They will, trust me, folks, they will take very good care of you. Check them out. If you've had a hard time finding a holster that works for you and it works for, maybe you got, like I said, you got a unique setup, give them a try. I promise you won't be disappointed.
If you got a Glock with a bayonet on it, John could get you in a holster.
I don't even know what to say about that one. A Glock with a bayonet. Okay.
They have them. They have pistol bayonets for Glocks. They do.
Wow. Okay. All right. Some of you may have been wondering about the title of today's program, where I basically said a black supremacist who wasn't at the Capitol sentenced for role in January 6th Capitol riot. Yes, all of that is actually true. That is, in fact, the truth. So Enrique Tarrio, you may know him as one of the leaders or one of the national leaders for the Proud Boys. And Enrique Tarrio was just sentenced. He was one of several. He was one of several Proud Boy leaders who were sentenced specifically with conspiracy to overthrow the government. But he was sentenced for January 6th for seditious conspiracy. This is him right here. As you can see, he is not a white supremacist, even though he leads a group known as the Proud Boys, who they claim are white supremacists. I know some Proud Boys. They may be prone to excessive violence. They may, but they are not a racist group. They are not a white supremacist group. Although, I guess if you consider what now is considered white supremacy, which is basically, things like being on time, things like, believing in God, things like being married, things like being married to the mother of your children, being on time, logic and critical thinking, all those are white supremacy. So I don't know, but maybe, who knows, maybe they are. But anyway, so former Proud Boy Enrique Tarrio was basically sentenced to 22 years in prison. They're saying for orchestrating a failed plot to keep Donald Trump in power after the Republican lost the election, capping the case with the stiffest punishment that has been handed down yet for the, once again, as they call it, the U.S. Capitol attack. Now, Mike, let's just start our fact checking right there. Was this an attack on the U.S. Capitol?
No. Now, hold on, let me check again.
What would have been included had this been an actual attack on the U.S. Capitol?
They would charge him with the actual crime of insurrection, but he was not charged with the crime of insurrection, which is, it's kind of like a cousin to Russian collusion. It's just a word the liberals like saying, yet it never happened.
Well, except there is no such thing as I don't know that there is an actual crime that is collusion, but there is an actual crime of insurrection. So it was available for them to charge him, but they didn't. They didn't charge him or any of the other 1,000 people that they have charged, including the President of the United States. But now they're calling it sedition. You do know what sedition really is, right? Sedition is basically, you said bad things about the powers that be, and therefore that is seditious.
Yeah, sedition. If reading the statute for that, it also has to lead to the act that you pushed for occurring. But my confusion here, Craig, is they charge him with, conspiring to commit these acts of sedition and insurrection and treason at the Capitol. Yet I watched the January 6th reality TV show last year, and that was President Trump that did that, according to, their vote at the end of the island there.
Well, but supposedly this is Trump's army. They were acting as Trump's army, as his physical arm there at the Capitol, although he wasn't there at the Capitol. They're saying that he was a part of the plan. He was the mastermind behind it. And he got 22 years. Now, mind you, there was a guy who during the BLM riots who lit a fire that killed someone, and he got 2 years.
Hey, we have gang members killing gang members in Chicago, and their state attorney won't charge them with the crime at all, Craig, because that's mutual combat. They have to be able to defend themselves when they're committing crimes against other people.
Yeah, these folks are beyond ridiculous. These people are beyond ridiculous, but it does not keep them from doing their thing, I guess. Here's the thing, folks. If you believe that these folks, all these people who are being sentenced, which, by the way, all of the Proud Boys, I think of the Proud Boy leaders, I think the shortest sentence was 7 years. The average sentence for the 120 people who got sentenced during the BLM riots, the average sentence was 27 months. So most people, and by the way, these are all, let me clarify. These are all people who were charged with things like, conspiracy, things like arson, battery, So not even like minor crimes. The major crimes, their average was 27 months, according to the Associated Press.
Yeah. And meanwhile, Greg, in Chicago, this year alone, 409 shot and killed, 452 total homicides, 2,159 total people shot. And Craig, guess how many law enforcement shootings there were of the 2,159?
Oh, it got to be 2,158, right? Because that's what the news tells us.
That's exactly what the news would have you believe, right? And it was four. Two people killed, 2 people wounded.
And it doesn't even tell you if were those people armed.
Yes, they were armed.
So all 4 of them were armed.
Yes. Yes.
Wow.
They were.
Well, if they were armed, who knows? Who knows what's going down?
Listen, bring a gun to a gun.
You cannot tell me that there is equal justice. And oh, by the way, now here's the one thing I will say. You notice the guy who got the toughest sentence was the black guy.
Yes, the proudest white boy member they had was a black man.
Yes, the proudest white supremacist was a black man who got the stiffest sentence. Criminal justice system still taking it to the brothers.
Like I say, maybe that's something there. Okay, the white guy got 7 years. The black white supremacist got 22. Yeah.
Well, folks, if there was ever a reason to consider voting for Donald Trump, all of these folks will get pardoned.
Yeah, if you need another reason, take out your wallet, look in it.
Well, there you go. Then there's that. Anyway, moving right along. So this is an interesting thing. So a bunch of the presidential libraries from the people who organized the presidential libraries, all the way from Hoover all the way up to George Bush. 17 of them, in fact, have gotten together and decided that they want to talk about, or at least they want to push the idea and let folks know that our democracy, nothing less than our democracy, is in danger. Where is that? Here it is right here. So it says presidential senators from Hoover to Bush and Obama unite to warn of a fragile state of U.S. democracy. Concern for U.S. democracy amid deep national polarization has prompted the entities supporting 13 presidential libraries dating back to Herbert Hoover to call for a recommitment to the country's bedrock principles, including the rule of law and respect for diversity of beliefs. Now, Mike, I'm just wondering, because a bunch of these guys are Democrats, right? And I'm just wondering, who do they think they're talking to? The quote-unquote rule of law? Why don't they talk to their Democrat friends? Or why don't they talk to their friends that are their friend that is currently in the White House? Because I'm sure Herbert Hoover probably knew him. Why don't they talk to the media, who's flat out lying? I mean, it's hard to have open and honest discussion with a group of people who are pushing lies and falsehoods and then accusing you of pushing lies and falsehoods.
Yeah, listen, Herbert Hoover died a number of years ago, but he's actually still more coherent than the current president. That's a fact. Why are they only talking to Democrats, Craig? Because again, they want to get their little liberal ball rolling, right? Look at this. All the presidential libraries have decided. Craig, do you know how many of the presidential libraries are still in the act of making law?
None.
Or how many of the libraries are involved in the making law process?
None.
How many libraries are consulted by Congress, by states, when it's time to make a law? Yeah, it'd be zero. Again, it's kind of like, hey, some of us are liberal too. We want attention. What can we do? Let's form a coalition of libraries here and start speaking our own mind, because all the other stuff they're throwing out against Trump isn't sticking. Maybe this will do it.
Right. Well, and like I said, I'm all for the idea of coming against misinformation or disinformation. I'm all for telling the truth. I'm all for respecting other people's ideas and principles. Well, respecting their right to have those ideas and principles. I don't need to weigh theirs the same as mine, especially when I know for a fact that they happen to be wrong. But let's debate them. But let's also debate them on a fair playing field where facts are facts, because you may be entitled to your opinion, but you are not entitled to your own facts. Right? Let's stop lying, and let's stop having a media and an academia that's carrying water for liars.
Yep. Yeah, I mean that would seem to make sense, right? Let's go out there and do this honestly and openly and put facts out there. But oh no, I'm sorry. We're talking about Democrats and liberals. We can't do that. We can't do it.
Well, no, and like I said, and what I will say, like what I've said before, it's even worse when you start talking about. It's even worse when you start talking about. Once again, the information and the facts, because they just flat out the Marxists in their group, right? Because let's just be honest, there are cultural Marxists amongst the Democrats, and you've got guys like Bill Maher, Matt Taibbi, there are a bunch of Glenn Greenwald who have been liberal all of their professional lives and are now all of a sudden like, what is the matter with you people on the left? Where are these wacky, stupid, crazy, insane ideas coming from? And it's all coming from cultural Marxism. I was watching Bill Maher on Joe Rogan the other day, and he was, by the way, high as a kite. But but that's what he was saying. He's like, look, these guys, they're not liberals. They're Marxists. But the problem is, here's the problem. This is what makes me mad about the liberals. Y'all are putting up with them. Y'all are allowing them to do what they're doing because they're voting for your guys. And your guys are your candidates are doing what they say. But in the end, liberals, guess what? They want to take you out too. Once they get rid of conservatives, you're next, because their goal is not to prop you up and put you as the leader of the system. Their goal is to tear down the system, you morons.
Yeah. Listen, we see it happening with the with the liberal middle class, right? They're all being forced downward, to the lower middle class and to the lower economic scale. They don't care about you. It's about the liberal elite. That's what they want.
Right. If you want any better example, let's talk about the fact that Biden just said, look, nope, we're shutting down all the oil production in Anwar. So nope, nothing up there. Now, mind you, gas prices are already crazy high. Oil prices are already crazy high. OPEC and Saudi Arabia have said, nope, not only are they not going to produce more oil, Saudi Arabia has now said we're going to produce even less. So we're not doing any new drilling in the Gulf. We're not doing it in Anwar. We're not doing any new leases because he took away a bunch of leases when he first got elected. But you got Democrats saying, well, there's nothing we can do about gas prices. Yeah, how about this? Make more gas. Pull more oil out of the ground, and you'll be surprised how those prices will go down. But they don't care because they can afford to fly in their jets. You, on the other hand, are evil for driving in your car.
We need to make more oil, right? We need to, not the Saudis. Saudis, they're going to make less oil because it's going to drive the price up of their current oil, right? So they're going to make more money off of us because they know we're always going to want oil and want gasoline and get petroleum byproducts. Craig, how many years ago was it? It was 3 years ago, right? 3 years ago, we were energy independent.
Yes, we were. We were energy independent. But you know what? Those are what Mary Schneider over at Opslands. Those are what she was once accused of referring to as alternative facts. Someone referred to, whenever she would talk about the facts, they would refer to them to her facts as alternate facts. Anyway.
Oh, yeah, well, anything with Donald Trump is the falsely alleged, the wrongly alleged, the wrongly stated. That's how they start everything with him.
Right. Exactly. So this is a story, this next one, if you're not familiar, force reset triggers, the people who produce force reset triggers have hit a little bit of a legal snag. Now, the interesting part about it is, and I'll show you the AP story. So the Associated Press is basically saying, maker of rapid fire triggers falsely told customers they are legal, judge says in preliminary ruling. And that's actually not what the judge said. The judge was specifically speaking to an injunction, or whether or not they were going to remove an injunction or keep an injunction going, allowing them to sell their triggers. And the point here is they're saying, look, they're doing the injunction, but what's really interesting about it here is that this is a judge who, by the way, is a Biden judge who knows nothing about firearms, knows nothing about the definition of what a firearm or what a trigger is, and has allowed this trigger to be considered. What's the term I'm looking for, Mike? You're the FFL here. You're the legal firearm expert.
It's the forced reset trigger makes the trigger, the length of pull on the trigger shorter, but you still have to pull the trigger each time for the bullet to fire. Whereas the standard says the gun, for it to be a machine gun, there has to be more than one shot per pull of the trigger finger. Right. It used to say pull of the trigger. Now it says pull of the trigger finger. And guess what? The forced reset trigger doesn't do that. It makes the pull shorter, but you still have to pull the trigger every time.
Well, what's interesting about it, Mike, is that the media has caught on and they get it because they no longer say that it makes it a machine gun. They don't even make that statement. They just say it makes it shoot as fast as a machine gun or an automatic weapon, or as fast as, or close to, or faster. I don't understand why the judge can't get it because, yeah, there's a definition already in law. Not in statute, not in some rulemaking thing, but in statute. Yeah, you don't get to just throw that out.
You know, one of the other big points in the story is it says that the owners at Rare Breed Triggers did not consult with ATF before taking this to production. Craig, let me tell you exactly how many rules there are and laws that say that they must check with the ATF first before making products. None. There's no requirement. Zero requirement to check with the ATF beforehand. Did Rare Breed Triggers do some checking anyway? Absolutely. You know what they did? They found all the experts, and including many of those that had retired from the top jobs at ATF, and they examined it and said, it's not a machine gun. It's not a machine gun. But that still didn't stop the ATF from saying, well, it shoots fast, so it must make it a machine gun, right? It's absolutely garbage. We know it's and I know all four owners. In fact, meeting with one of them tomorrow. And it's a travesty what's going on, and to make it more interesting, Craig, and more complicated. So this is a U.S. District Court in Brooklyn, right, in New York. Last week, the U.S. District Court in Texas said not a machine gun. In the Garland case. So you have two competing district courts now saying opposite things. You know what that leads to?
Yep.
We're heading for a showdown at a bigger court.
Well, but in this one, Mike, what gets me is you don't even really need to be a firearm expert to understand this. Here's the definition in law. Here's what this does. This does not fit the definition of this, so this cannot be this. A force reset trigger does not fit the definition of a machine gun, so therefore it's not a machine gun. I will bet you that I could bring my granddaughter in here and she could explain that to you.
Shooting a gun fast does not make it a machine gun. How a gun shoots fast makes it a machine gun. And this one is within the standard of not a machine gun.
Exactly. Now, once again, not rocket science, but apparently there ain't no rocket scientist. This judge apparently is not a rocket scientist.
Nope.
All right, and then finally, we've got Portland teachers demand subsidized housing. Now, we always knew this is the sort of crap that they're going to try and pull, but they're literally saying that they're going to walk off the job and they're not going to go back unless they get this thing in their collective bargaining. It says here, teachers in Portland, Oregon are on track to strike if their school district refuses to provide subsidized housing for poor public school students and lobby for expanded rent. That has led to school shutdowns in other liberal cities as powerful teachers unions pursue left-wing priorities. After months of negotiations with Portland Public Schools, the Portland Association of Teachers on August 22nd warned its members they may be heading towards a strike, citing the district's failure to agree on a transformative contract. Don't trust anything that says transformative. Included in the impasse is a union proposal to create a district-led subsidized housing initiative, which would see the district identify land it owns that it could convert into Section 8 housing for local families. The union also is pushing its district to actively lobby and advocate for expanded rent control laws in Portland. Union documents reviewed by the Washington Free Beacon show. Now, Mike, what gets me about this is, so in other words, kids don't get to learn. Kids who have fallen behind academically because these very same teachers refused to shut down the schools during COVID. Now you're going to tell them that unless the school district becomes a slumlord and starts renting out and giving out property and subsidizing housing for people, now all of a sudden you're saying that those very same kids that you claim to want you claim to care about don't get an education.
Yeah. So Craig, let me see if I can explain this to the folks out there a little bit simpler so they understand what's going on. So let's say you've got downtown middle school in Portland, right? You got downtown middle school in Portland, and people are fleeing downtown Portland. We've seen what's happened in Portland, right? We know the garbage that's going on there now. Jobs have gone from the economy. They've left from crime. They've left. So there's less people living there. So the people that were living there have fled the downtown area. So now there's less people going to the schools. So guess what happens when less people go to schools? They either have to transfer the teachers out or they have to shut the school down because they can't have teachers for 1,000 students when there's only 300 people going. So they shut the school down to save money, and then the teachers have to go somewhere else. Well, these teachers don't want to go somewhere else, Craig. And rather than the teacher have to go do their lifelong mission of teaching to these children, they want the school board to pay for poor people to stay in poor areas so they don't have to move their jobs.
The problem is that it's because of them that people don't want to live there. It's because people who think like them, they're like, look, you've tried your social experiment. It failed. I'm out of here. And by the way, just so you know, it's not just conservatives moving out. It's a whole bunch of liberals who've decided, who've recognized that they can't live in the utopia that Democrats have attempted to create in many of our major cities or in many of our blue cities and blue states.
Like in Chicago, right?
Right.
Same issue going on there. Wonder why they don't stay. I don't know. Maybe because 2,159 people have been shot in downtown Chicago this year so far.
Well, and then there's, I'll bet you it's somewhat safer in San Francisco as long as you don't need to go to a grocery store and buy anything and are able to avoid the poop in the streets.
Yeah, as long as you don't have to go, outdoors, you're fine.
as long as you don't have to go outdoors and have pretty good locks on your front door and back door and windows.
Yep.
Maybe your chimney.
That's it.
Garage door.
That's it.
Because Lord knows you can't own a gun there.
Nope. Now you got to worry about a guy with a hammer coming in your house.
Yeah. Hammer time. Doom, 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 doom. Doom, doom. Doom, doom. Can't touch this. All right, folks. Well, hey, that brings us to our parting shots brought to you by Hog Holsters. Get your Hog Holster, hogholster.com. Make sure you use discount code The Rundown, all caps, no spaces. Get your Hog Holster today. Now, Mike, have you heard the story about the guy who basically has written a book about Barack Obama? Basically, he's written a book, and in the book, he talks about how he had sex with Barack Obama. There was also the lady who wrote a book who basically said that she was one of his ex-girlfriends who said he wrote her letters about fantasizing about having gay sex with other men. And that leads me to this.
That was it. The pornography you were talking about earlier today.
No. I like your gay pride shirt. Can you tell me what is on this individual shirt?
That's the Obama photo with the hope and change, in the red, white, and blue, the Andy Warhol style.
There you go. There you go. Good stuff. Good stuff. Then there is, going all the way back, when we want to talk about, once again, Donald Trump and what happened on January 6th and all of these trials and everything. And I've continued to say this, that basically, all the people are going to be testifying to are the things that Donald Trump said and did, almost all of which are not illegal, right? Almost all of which are not illegal. For example, questioning the election is not illegal, and that's why it has here. You have the founding fathers as they are writing the Constitution. It says here, make sure to write that free speech doesn't include Donald Trump questioning the 2020 election.
Yep. Can we be a little more specific, guys? Like when you
Just
say stuff like
specific.
shall not be infringed, could you put the words really, 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 really in there?
There you go. Really, 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 really. By the way, there's a new flag out in honor of Donald Trump. It's a new Gadsden flag. It's not "Don't tread on me." It's "Don't trip on me."
Oh, very nice. Don't trip. At least he's tripping up the stairs there. Right?
He's tripping up the stairs. For those of you who are wondering, in the replacement of the snake that's normally there, the coiled snake, looks like airplane stairs. And
Yep.
Joe Biden is falling up them.
Yep. Craig,
Now,
I think I also sent you a picture of the of what a pistol bayonet looks like.
You did. Matter of fact, I was not going to do that next, but I will go ahead and I will pull that one up next. Where are we at here? Dun, dun, dun. Go there and then to there. Hold on, I'm looking for it.
So, folks, if you've got a handgun that's got a rail on it, either for a light or a laser, under the barrel, you can get this attachment for your firearm as well.
Wow. Okay. That's a real thing. Stab him in the face.
It makes weapons retention a lot easier, although it makes holstering difficult.
I can imagine it would make holstering difficult. All right, now this last one right here, I think this one is wholly appropriate, in particular as we are talking about the current surge of COVID-19 and all of the stuff, all the wrong stuff that they said about it, that they told us, whether it was masks, whether it was shutting down, whether it was the vaccine, whether it was alternative treatments. They told us a bunch of lies, right? And they all said, well, believe the science. Well, as it said here, you want to read this one to the folks and describe it, Mike?
Sure. It's Ron. I forget the character's name from Parks and Recreation.
Mm-hmm.
He says, "I don't think you understood what I said. You don't trust the science." The other guy says, and he says, "No."
No. By the way, the other guy, that's Bill Gates.
Bill Gates. There you go. He says, "You don't trust the science." And he says, "No, I don't trust Epstein's friend who's not a scientist." Referring to Bill Gates. There you go.
Exactly, because we all know Bill Gates is not a scientist, but for some reason thinks he needs to lecture everybody on science and on vaccines and on,
Ron Swanson. That's his name. Ron Swanson on the program.
There you go. Yeah. There you go. Well, folks, that's about it. We're almost done. But before we go, how about a final shout out to our sponsors?
Hitman Industries, hitmanindustries.net. You can get rifle and pistol caliber barrels any length you desire for your rifle or pistol builds. And now you can get Glock barrels. So check them out for Glock barrels as well. California Republican Assembly fighting a good fight behind enemy lines. Now you can take part in California's future today. Make sure you check out the California 6th congressional race. And if you want some tactical gear, some going to the field gear, no matter what it is, they got everything but the gun over at uscombatgear.com.
All right, folks, thank you so much for tuning in. We're going to be back tomorrow. Thank God it's Friday, or thank God it will be Friday. we're going to have a good time. So hope you all can join us. We will see you then. Holla, holla, y'all.